Burley, approximately 2 miles west of Leeds city centre, has a mixture of family and student accommodation. St Matthias' project cost £480,000. They had £35,000 from grants and raised over £400,000 through gifts.
So here we are in St Matthias Church, Burley, and I have to say this is an extremely welcoming entrance. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like before and how you use it now?
Before, you had to come in through the main doors and you came to 2 solid doors, and then you had to turn the corner and come in through 2 other doors into the main building. So it's quite a bit of a maze really that people had to come through.
Quite an ordeal getting into the church.
It was an ordeal to come in. And
dark as well.
Yeah, dark
and unwelcoming.
and you couldn't see anything of the building at all. What we've got now is that lovely light entrance, this glazed lobby. People can see in before they actually come in. They come in, they can see through this glass into the main building, and so therefore there's this whole sense of greater welcome and visibility.
This is your new kitchen. What do you anticipate using this area for?
Well, of course we'll use it for Sunday morning services and so on, but we've also thought about...
Yeah, small training events and conferences.
Clearly the nave area has changed out of all recognition. Is it a more flexible space now?
Yes, before it was rigid pews, and people of course don't want to move from the pews, and our worship style has developed since the 70s, through the 70s and 80s and so on, to need that flexibility. It's a more flowing kind of worship.
More informal.
Yeah, it's a more informal kind of worship. So now that we've got the chairs, just the way that people share, the sense that you can see each other, makes a big difference to that sense of family and community when you come together for worship.
So, yeah.
And what is that area over there?
Yeah, that rather large box over there is our PA and projection. We have tried to deal properly with this whole idea about it's not necessarily a book culture. People don't want to come in and have about 5 books put in their hands and so on. What we do is we project all our Bible readings, we project our songs and so on, and we have a sound system for our worship team and so on.
A very distinctive feature of this project is the new baptistry. Keith, I understand that at one stage there was a possibility that this phase of the project might not have happened.
Yes, as with a project like this, you have to keep on reviewing the finances and how much finance you've got and so on. And this was one part of the project we may have taken out for finance, but we decided in faith that we wanted to stick with this because we want to see new Christians, people being baptised, new believers, and this is a real symbol and a very practical way of handling that.
Keith, looking down the church from here, you must be so delighted with the way that this project has enabled you to use the space differently.
Yes, when I look down the building now, I see it open, light, spacious, with people clustered together in a way that we can feel like we're family, and it's great. And it used to be one of the things that's dear to my heart. It used to be that that window at the end was just cut across with this sort of 70s narthex, and to see it opened up now with all that lovely colour, it's a great view.
How did you raise the funds for the project?
That was over a period of time, and we decided that we wouldn't go down lottery funding route, that it would be mainly by giving or by grants. And we had 2 gift days where people pledged, and sometimes people were pledging a one-off gift, sometimes to give over a year, 2 years, 3 years, etc. And so that's where the main funding came from, and also we had a certain amount in our reserves. We had about £90,000 in our reserves.
Tell us a little bit about the work of the committee. What does it do?
The advisory committee is there to provide information on care for churches and to act, if you like, as the listed building consent part of the planning process in the secular system. And they're there with experts on the committee to help parishes to give advice principally to the Chancellor of the diocese, who actually issues the faculty, but then to help parishes to go through the system and help in the design if that's what they require.
So where parishes consult you, they can obtain advice from architects, engineers?
There are various members of the committee with expertise in different areas of buildings through architects, quantity surveyors, planners, all that sort of thing, and they can give advice freely.
And
the
an
parish.
in-depth conversation with the DAC at an early stage can really help with the development of the
I
project.
always recommend to parishes that as soon as they know that they want to do some work, to get involved with me, and we can set up a meeting and start really at the base of the project.
Could you say a little bit about the role of the DAC in developing this project?
Yes, I think particularly myself as the, I suppose the clerk of works kind of person. Mainly I liaised with Peter and just found him to be really helpful on lots of occasions, asking advice, even down to what kind of paint can we use in the building, because you can't just, slap on any old paint. And advice on the furnishings and things like that. And it was just good to have somebody who you could phone and get some really good sound advice from.
How did you find the architect with whom you worked?
We interviewed 2 architects. We put out to tender to 5, and we decided that rather than, there are various ways you can do this, but we decided it would be a fixed price contract. And so therefore we took the tenders and we had to interview and chose the one which we did, which was Byram, Clark and Roberts.
Did the DAC make any recommendations about who you might use?
There's an accepted list that you can use, so a recommended list, and they were, I don't know whether they were on the list at that time, but they've now come onto the list since.
So contacting the DAC early on and listening to their free advice helped ensure this project was granted the faculty.